Hey there, my name's Santiago. I'm one of the senior research associates here at the Outpost, and I'm putting together a quick tutorial to kind of help all the people that are coming around to help us create all of the materials we need to get these beacons going. We figured it'd be best if we had some sort of tutorial so that people could look back to it, learn how to use the MFP, because we've got so much work to get done. We use the MFP all the time to create all sorts of things. It's how we build our blueprints, our recipes, our models. And then with that, we can use that to go back down at the outpost and actually create everything we need. But another interesting thing is that this is actually connected to the outpost. Everything that exists down here in this bottom side, right hand side, is actually from the outpost itself. So this is telling us right now in our outpost, we're generating 306 logs per hour. That's one of our factories down there. And so we can use this to figure out what else we can make. So we're going to run into all of these things here, and we're going to kind of run through a couple of examples that allow you to see how everything works. Feel free to come back to this at any time. It took me a while to kind of get my head wrapped around how all of it worked. But, I think we're going to jump in, and I think we'll get it. So the MFP is broken up into 3 or 4 main pieces here. This over here to the right is where we can actually analyze our efficiencies. As we start building our first blueprint, we'll start looking at graphs on that. Down here in the bottom, this is actually from the Minecraft world. This is the outposts. As we have things in our inventory and being produced, they'll show up here. That allows us to build models and try to evaluate how good we are at building certain aspects of things. Down here in the bottom left is our material explorer. You can see all of these things are the current materials and resources that we have available to craft with. So whenever we want to build something, we'll kind of start with this. On the left here is a little bar. You can click the 3 buttons and it shows you what this does. This collapse to node is an actual custom node. Right now it's disabled. That's something we'll do a lot later. This show to workspace will zoom your workspace in so that you can see everything on your workspace. And this will download a screenshot. Let's build something really quick just to get going. So we have all these types of nodes here, and you can click on these buttons to help filter it. Usually, it's kind of best to start with the end in mind. So here, if we're going to say build something like planks, we can grab this plank output tile, and it tells us what the input needs to be. So since we're building planks, it's saying we need a plank. We can grab that into here, and then we can use the line to connect those 2 up just by dragging across. And then this one right here, to create planks, we need logs. We see that 1 log equals 4 planks. So that's a resource over here. So we're going to grab it and pull it up and connect them together. And then we can put how many logs we think we're going to create. So let's say we're going to create 40 logs. If we were creating 40 logs an hour, it would actually produce 160 planks per hour for us. So now we've got something up here. Let's look at these nodes and see kind of what they are. So the resource nodes, the green ones here, are all the things that you're finding in the world that you're not actually crafting. They're just things that are going to be given to you that you're trading for or something like that, but not actually building. Craftable items are things that you're going to use other resources to create. So like the planks, they took logs. But logs themselves, they actually come from the environment. And then the output allows us to actually evaluate and start charting and graphing. So when you have an output node, if you right click on it, you can go to focus and it creates this over here. And then you can click on the graph and you can see it actually builds a graph to show you just how over so many hours, this is how many planks you could get, how your output ratios are, your resource allocations. Now we can get all into this much later, but you can see that this becomes a pretty powerful tool in evaluating something. Now another thing you'll notice up here is this top is our taskbar. There's always something for us to do. So when you come here, you'll be able to evaluate this. So you can click on this arrow right here, it pops it down. And right now you can see there's 4 tasks that are available. So if we're going to do something here, we can see the plank was actually the first contraption. We can actually click the button to claim this task. So when that happens, we now have this ability to submit. But before you submit it, you want to come over here and run these unit tests. So this task actually says we need to create a plank contraption and it needs to be able to produce 8 planks per hour. So let's go back to our model. So it looks like we're producing way more than we need. We're producing 160. So let's start lowering this number. You can play around with it. So 10 is too much. Let's look at 5. That's too much. What does 1 do? All right, so now we're getting closer. So we can see here that logs to planks is actually a 2:8 ratio. So you can take 2 logs, multiply it by 4, and that's how many planks you're going to get. So now let's open this back up. It looks like we got our model correct. We've got task 1. Let's go ahead and run the unit test. It passed. Now just for clarity, if we go back here and just change this down to 1 and run, so now you see we're not producing as much, and we open this back up and we rerun that unit test, you can see that it tells us the correct planks per hour is not there. We're not generating enough planks per hour. Then we can look on the debugger to get a little bit more information, and it says the model output is incorrect. The model is producing too few of items. Okay, so if we come back to here, now make it 2, we can see we get the right answer. We come back to our unit test, open our menu back up, run it again. Everything's turned green. We have all the proper nodes, the model's connected correctly, and we're producing the right number of planks. The debugger has no errors. So now we can actually submit this task. And it tells us right here, it ran the unit test on its own, it passed, and so now we're able to go on to the next one. So you can come and select these tasks, and as you do them, you can see when you submit something, it clears your screen, and then it'll tell you what unit test it's going to do, and these will test everything you've got on the screen for the model, and any problems that will show up will be described here in the debugger. You can close at any time by pressing the X and get back to what you're trying to do. Now this also allows us to do a lot more interesting things. So let's look at something a little bit more complicated than a chest. Let's look at like a bookshelf. So we're going to output a bookshelf here. So we need to have some craftable things as well. So it's kind of big. I'm going to zoom it down a little bit. So you just use your scroll wheel when you're over here and you can zoom, or you can click and hold to move everything around. So you can see here I need some books and some planks. Those are craftable items. So there's books. And then I'm going to have to close this out to get here. Planks. And this will show us here, whenever we start kind of getting things too big, if we click back to this button, you'll see it'll zoom it all right back to where we want it to be. So now I need some logs over here. And I need some leather. And then I'm going to need some paper, as we see right here. Let's find that. Let's kind of move these around so we can get it a little bit cleaner. And then what do I need on paper? It says I need sugar cane. Well, that's a resource. So here, connect them up. So now we have a full thing here. Let's go ahead and put in some numbers. So let's say we are producing 10 leather, 10 sugar cane, and 10 logs per hour. Now, one thing you'll notice is that you'll see these red lines up here. This is showing you your critical path. What is the limiting factor for you to be able to create these bookshelves? And right now, it shows that we don't have enough sugarcane to create. Now, let's go ahead and look at that. If you come back like we did before, right-click on the output and hit focus, we can actually see now everything that's being produced. We can see what percentage we're using of everything, and right now, sugarcane we're using 100%, but we're only using 16% of the logs we produce. So we're really wasteful in our logs. We need a lot more sugarcane. So let's throw in some more sugarcane. So now you can see we've completely flipped it now. So now leather is the most. We're using 100% of the leather, and we're only using 30% of our sugarcane. We've increased our output to 3.3 bookshelves per hour. So this is sort of how we get the ability to actually start evaluating these plans here. Another interesting thing is if you find a node and you want to delete it, you can click on it and you can drag it over to the delete button, or you can just select it and delete it. Now, like I said before, these are actually connected to Minecraft. And so right here, this is connected to the outpost. Our outpost is producing 306 logs per hour. So we can actually connect that up here and actually see with our manufacturing that's going down at the outpost right now, how much leather and sugarcane do we need to be able to create to actually produce a set of bookshelves? This all allows us to work right here. So this is sort of a high-level overview. You can see you've got your ability to look at graphs, which shows you production, how many of an item you can produce over time, the resource allocation, and then the output ratio of what you're being able to produce. Items in the outpost will show up in this bottom right-hand piece. Over here is all of the resources you have to build with, and you can click in the bar to search for things like sugarcane. And then you have your tester up here, where you click the button, you can grab assigned tasks. So right now, like the next task here was to actually create a model for producing sticks. So you'll be able to do that one for us. You can run the unit test on it. Right here, if we run the unit test, you can see it saying, hey, you don't have the right nodes on there, nothing's connected properly, or you're not producing the correct number of sticks per hour, which makes sense because we've got a bookshelf blueprint up there. You got your debugger that starts to give you more information. So right here, you can tell that it's saying you're missing the output node that you need. We've got an output node for a bookshelf, and it's looking for an output node for some sticks. And here, we have the wrong craftable nodes, and we have the wrong resource nodes. And then the model is not even connected correctly if we're trying to build sticks. And it's definitely not outputting the right number because we're not even creating any sticks. So hopefully this will help you be able to kind of see how all this works. As I said, feel free to come back to the video at any time if you need and reach out. We're happy you're here. You know, if we can get everything going that we're hoping, we're going to be able to get all the materials we need to create these beacons and save this planet. Thanks for joining.